to our course on life in the world's oceans. I'm Sean Todd, Professor of Marine Science at the College of the Atlantic. At the molecular level, specifically with the chemical formula for water, which is written H2. This temperature range is very important. Our planet is positioned not too far away from the sun, nor too close. And yet the water itself does not increase that much in temperature. This property has important. I remember I was once making the crossing between Cape Horn in South America to the Antarctic Peninsula on a body of water named the Drake Passage, named after the famous explorer Sir Francis Drake. It had already been a superb day.
Many years ago, I made a number of journeys across the Sahara on the back of a small fleet of camels. I was wandering in Egypt's western desert, which is an area about the size of the Indian subcontinent and one of the driest climates on Earth. This was before September 2001, and the world was, in some ways, a very different place then.
Moses Finley claimed that Athens was what anthropologists call a face-to-face society, one where there was a great deal of face recognition. That's surely inaccurate, the citizen body being in the order of 30 to perhaps... In today's lecture, we're going to talk about the most important ceremony performed in Athens, namely the ceremony each year honouring those who laid down their lives for their country. It was accompanied by a funeral speech known as the Epitaphios Logos. This was the ancestral custom, so called. Like lots of Athenian customs, it was thought to have been established by Solon, though modern scholars believe that it was established as late as around 460 in the form in which it has come down to us.
Tornadoes create Earth's most powerful winds. Blowing as fast as 200 to 300 miles per hour, mountains are like the directors of an extreme weather show that runs all year round. The most basic thing mountains do is force nearby airflow in the troposphere to... On February 14, 1990, a severe ice storm set its grips on central Illinois. Warm air on southerly winds. Blizzards can attack a region with overwhelming force. Think about it. The threat of a blizzard makes us panic. Moving water is extremely powerful. 6 inches of swiftly moving water can sweep you off your feet.
Let's talk about excavations, specifically at the site of Troy, starting with Heinrich Schliemann and then bringing them up to the present. This is actually a topic that got me started in archaeology in the first place. Egyptology is one of the most discussed topics in archaeology, so we definitely have to talk about it in this course. Everyone seems to be fascinated by the ancient Egyptians, and they all think they know a little something about them, especially pyramids and mummies and hieroglyphics. Let me give you a quick demonstration. Got my camera, meter stick, the actual board. So I'm going to put the meter stick down here, parallel to the object. Here's our photo board with the information. North arrow is going to go here because north is there. Now this actually is a little bit more dirty than I would like, so you'll have to forgive me. It would normally be very clean. And then come back, take off the lens cap, turn the camera on, and then get everything ready in position and take your picture. Okay, so
is about the science of nutrition and exercise that can lead to changes in body composition. That's the key.
If I asked you to multiply 20,000 by 100, how long would it take you to calculate the answer? By some reckonings, more than 20,000 new books for children are published every single year in the United States. Now, some will sell a lot of copies, many will disappear without a trace, and some, a rare few, will be read year after year. One of those that we keep reading features a boy named Christopher Robin and his teddy bear, Winnie the Pooh. The real-life Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh are...
Most chess amateurs look at a chessboard and are, for the most part, seen a blank. Depending on their experience and knowledge, they might notice a tactic here or there, but in general, they're completely unable to ask the following question. What's happening in this position and what should both sides be doing? You would think that everyone would have an answer, but when looking at a position, chess players are pretty much doing the same thing, hoping to find that unknown move that will make everything okay. So their thoughts are a move by move and threat by threat, and I go there and he goes there affair. In this lecture, we're going to learn to read that body language by making use of a concept I created 30 years ago called imbalances.
In robotics, you'll dive into the exciting world of man-made machines, examining their origin. Your host to this fascinating world is evolutionary and biorobotics professor John Long, who transforms the Great Courses studio into a veritable robotics laboratory, letting you experience the trials and triumphs of these astounding thinking machines firsthand.
What we do is bring a lot.
Films are great, aren't they? I mean, really, if you think about it, film as an art form helps us define our experience of the entire world and other worlds. I grew up in an era where there were stories have shapes. Few people talk about this, but as a professional screenwriter, I think about the shape of my story all the time, especially at the beginning when I'm crafting it.
Pictures up, cameras are set, sound is ready. Last looks, stand by, we are rolling. 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 Slate in, speed, camera. Speed.
Scene 10A, take 1, marker.
Action.
An old film production adage states that a movie is created 3 times. Once when it's written, the second time as it's being directed, and the third time during the editing process. Every sound an actor makes in a feature film is replaced by the Foley artist. And the process of recreating these sounds is called Foley. And it's a ton of fun. For instance, you could take that murderous sound that I was making with a cabbage and a knife, complex characters stay in our minds long after a film ends. If you're like me, you'll think back on a movie and play over and over in
Houston, we have a problem.
You may recognize that line from the movie Apollo 13, written by William Broyles Jr. and Al Reinert, and directed by Ron Howard. Of course, the movie's based on the real-life drama surrounding the Apollo 13 spacecraft emergency of 1970.
In an attempt to return to the moon,
We're being reported. Command control. Airlock sector 22. Appalachian forces are in the flight bank. They're breaking through.
All hands,
Incoming! 10 degrees starboard! All reactor controls are down. Safety station non-responsive. Trojan relay and the guiding units are down. Look out!
We are doing a very classic Taekwondo punching drill. Nice. Good, one more, good one. There we go.
So the pressure difference acting on the hull of a 787 is over 8 pounds per square inch. When we consider that the fuselage diameter is around 19 feet. On February 1st, 2003, the Space Shuttle Columbia was preparing to come home after a successful 2-week science mission. The key components of modern wings are spars that run along. Now, there are some really interesting aspects of scaling that come into play when we look at small-scale aircraft. 1963, Arthur Schwanniger wrote, somewhat presciently, that a free return trajectory. Airplane design is not a simple matter of sitting in front of a computer with a computer-aided design package. Pilots need help. There's an incredible array of instruments and equipment on board the aircraft to help the pilot maintain safe flight. But a lot of the help that a pilot needs is entry into mass production. Now, to see why helicopter development took longer, let's start by looking at the typical controls on a helicopter.
I'm Sylvia Earle. As National Geographic Explorer in Residence, I've had the privilege of going to both ends of the Earth. But actually, it's a privilege for anyone to be able to go.
Realize that the waters of the Southern Ocean are the marine equivalent of the lost terrestrial paradises of America's Great Plains or Africa's Serengeti. These were diatoms, the tiny single-celled phytoplankton that make up the very base of the Antarctic food chain.